I never thought life would take me down a road like this. If someone had told me years ago that my heart would get tangled in something so complicated, I would have laughed and shaken my head. But here I am, carrying a story that still leaves me sleepless some nights. A story I can't erase no matter how much I try. And maybe, just maybe, you'll understand me by the end of this thought. It all started after I married Daniel. He was kind, stable, and exactly the kind of man I thought I needed after years of disappointments. He wasn't overly romantic, but he was steady. He had a son from his previous marriage, a young man named Adrian. At first, I saw Adrian simply as Daniel's boy, nothing more, nothing less. He was polite but distant, the kind of young man who carried unspoken stories in his eyes. I remember the first time I noticed the way he looked at me. It wasn't a careless glance. It lingered. His eyes seemed to hold questions he didn't dare voice. I brushed it off. After all, I was his stepmother now, and that line was clear, or at least it should have been. But lines blur when emotions creep in. Life in our home wasn't as peaceful as I had dreamed. Daniel was often away with work, traveling more than he was present. When he was home, he was tired, drained, and distant. Our conversations became short, mechanical. I would sit across from him at the dinner table, watching him eat in silence, feeling lonelier than I ever had before. Adrian, on the other hand, started opening up to me little by little. He would ask me about my day. He'd sit with me on the porch while I sipped tea, listening in a way Daniel never did. His questions were thoughtful, his attention sincere. Slowly, without even realizing it, I began to look forward to those conversations. One evening, after a long, heavy silence with Daniel, I stepped outside to clear my head. Adrian followed me. He sat beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him. He didn't say much at first. Then, quietly, he said, "You deserve more than this." Those words cut straight through me. No one had ever said that to me. No one had ever acknowledged the emptiness I carried in that house. I looked at him, startled, but his gaze didn't waver. It was strong, filled with something I didn't want to name. From that night forward, something unspoken grew between us. The air was heavier when we were in the same room. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it was charged, filled with questions neither of us dared ask. I told myself it was wrong, that it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But when you're starved for affection, even the smallest spark feels like fire. One afternoon, Daniel left for another business trip. It was just Adrian and me in the house. I made lunch, and we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. The way he looked at me made it impossible to breathe. I tried to act normal, but my hands trembled as I held my glass. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, "I want more than this silence between us." My heart pounded. I should have stopped it right there. I should have put a wall up, reminded him of who I was in his life. But instead, I froze, caught in the storm of emotions that had been building for weeks. I didn't push him away. I didn't stop him. That night became a turning point I can never take back. Every stolen moment afterward carried both sweetness and guilt. We found ourselves drawn together when Daniel was gone, living in a world of secrecy that felt both dangerous and irresistible. Adrian was bold where Daniel was absent. He noticed me, cherished me, touched the parts of my soul that had been neglected for years. I told myself I was alive again, but deep down, I knew I was building a house of lies. That there were moments when I almost confessed everything to Daniel, hoping he would finally look at me, finally fight for me. But every time, the fear of losing both him and Adrian kept my lips sealed. I was trapped between what I was supposed to be and what my heart desperately longed for. The weight of it all grew heavier with time. Every smile I gave Daniel felt forced, every hug a betrayal. At night, lying beside him, I would close my eyes and pretend to sleep, while my mind raced with memories of Adrian's voice, his touch, his gaze. It couldn't last. Secrets never do. One evening, Daniel came home earlier than expected. Adrian and I had let our guard down, and the truth slipped through the cracks. I'll never forget the look on Daniel's face when he realized what was happening, the disbelief, the fury, the heartbreak all crashing together in his eyes. That night tore our family apart. Words were shouted, tears were shed, and everything I had built collapsed. Daniel walked out, his heart broken beyond repair. Adrian left too, unable to face his father, unable to face himself, and I was left alone in the ruins of my choices. Looking back, I don't know if it was love or just the desperate hunger for it. Maybe it was both. All I know is that I crossed a line I can never uncross. I let my loneliness guide me into a storm that destroyed more than just my marriage. It destroyed trust, family, and the very idea of who I thought I was. If you're listening to this, maybe you'll judge me, maybe you'll feel pity, but I hope you'll also understand that sometimes the heart makes reckless choices when it feels unseen for too long. Sometimes the wrong thing feels like the only thing keeping you alive. In the end, I lost everything. The silence in my house now is louder than it ever was before, and I carry this story like a shadow that never leaves me. Stay tuned for more stories filled with love, heartbreak, and lessons of life.